know your values, but do you know if they're actually shaping your choices and your thoughts and how you talk to yourself, how you lead yourself? Hi, I'm Fallene Wells, your catalyst to grow. In this video, you'll learn which values are guiding your decisions and how to put your values into practice. You'll learn the motivation, the why behind your value, and how emotions can lead you to what truly matters. And finally, how to lead yourself with your values. This is part 2 of my values series. Next week, we'll learn how to fully integrate your values into your daily life. If you didn't watch part 1 of my values series, Digging for Your Values, I would go back and watch that. If you have, and you have a clear definition of what each value means to you, then you are in the right place. Get your journal ready and let's begin to try on your values. Living by your values is like a great pair of worn-in jeans. They've shaped to your body, they're soft, they've been broken in by real life. But then there are those clothes that look great on a hanger, but once you put them on, they've completely lost their shape. I had a sweater like that. Every time I put it on, by the end of the day, it would be completely stretched out. I kept trying to make that sweater work, and finally, I had to just let it go. Values are like that. And sometimes if we never try them on, we may never know that they actually don't fit who we really are at our core. Before we can choose what matters to us, we have to see what's already guiding us. Trying on your values is about becoming aware. Start asking yourself, what do I prioritize without even thinking? What's driving this choice? What patterns do I keep repeating? Am I driven by achievement or staying comfortable, avoiding conflict? When I owned my salon 11 years ago, I created values that sounded inspiring, but they stayed on paper because I didn't know how to implement them. Because I wasn't aware of what was truly guiding my decisions, I allowed outside influence to shape the culture, and it became chaotic. It was toxic. When my values became the filter for decisions, everything shifted. The culture became cohesive because actions aligned with what we stood for. So let's take a minute and ask yourself, is what's currently guiding me a reflection of who I want to be? Is this driven by fear? If no one was judging me, would I still choose this value? In that gap of where we currently are to where we want to be is where growth lives. Since values guide your choices, it's super important to understand where they're coming from. Sometimes when we create values, it could be to protect ourselves, or in reaction to expectations, or even out of fear. For example, let's say you really value being in control. It could be because you're afraid of uncertainty. Or let's say you value being cautious. It could be because you're afraid of rejection. Or let's say you value achievement. That could be because that's what earned you praise growing up. When I was younger, I was super ambitious. Achievement was something that I valued. I thought accomplishing more would finally earn me the validation that I was seeking. But I was on a hamster wheel of achieving. The more I achieved, the more I had to achieve. And if I didn't get to it, then I was super hard on myself. So let me ask you, if fear wasn't involved, would you still choose your value? Our emotions can be helpful information that lead us to what really matters. Instead of dismissing them, get curious about them. At the end of the day, you can try this journaling exercise. 1, identify all the emotions that showed up for you that day, whether you were happy or sad, or maybe you're really proud of yourself or angry. Write those down. 2, ask yourself what values are behind those emotions. 3, how loud were those emotions for you? Because it could be central to what you value. And 4, how did those values show up for you in your self-talk and how you made your decisions that day? Our values evolve the closer we become ourselves. I want to share a little story about when I discovered what really mattered to me. When my husband and I moved to Spain with our 4 cats, we never anticipated finding 5 stray cats on our property. I have always been an animal lover, especially with cats. So when I saw the cats on our property, my emotions were telling me to act and help them. So I started by renovating our old chicken coop. I turned it into a cat shelter / cat hotel. And one by one, we would capture the cats, take them to the vet to get them the help they needed, and get them spayed and neutered, and then release them back on our property. One of the cats that we rescued, Cora, is a small little calico cat. After her stitches were healed, I let her out of the coop, and 2 days after the fact, I see her walking up our path with something red hanging from her stomach. I did not know what to think, and I realized it was her wound that opened up and her insides were exposed. I was terrified and had no idea what to do. But the fear in me led my courage to try to capture her for the next 6 days. I was looking for her day and night, under the plants, through the stone walls, setting live traps with food. I tried everything. But as soon as I would see her, she would take off and run. Finally, one day, I saw her on top of a roof, and I pleaded with her, "Will you please let me rescue you?" And that night, my courage led me back to the coop, and there she was, her white little body, sitting on top of this dresser in the coop. I quickly shut the door and hoped that the next day would go smoothly. The next day came, I went out to the coop, terrified of what I would find. But I put her in the carrier, I took her to the vet, and the vet was able to stitch her up and send her back with me with a little onesie for a 15-day recovery. After she completely recovered, I thought for sure she would have left and never came back. But to my surprise, she stuck around. She actually became my little meditation partner. Sometimes we create values as expectations on how we want others to treat us. But we might forget that these values are actually standards for how we should treat ourselves. If respect is something that you value, you have to be willing to respect yourself first. If love is something that you value, you have to speak to yourself with love and love yourself first. You might be thinking, if it's so important to you, then won't your values naturally lead you and guide your decisions? Yes and no. Yes, because you've identified that value as important, But no, in my experience, if you haven't been led by that value this far, then dishonoring your value is something that is familiar and comfortable to you. And naturally, we seek to feel comfortable. So it takes a lot of courage to actually be guided by the values that we create for ourselves. Values are something that you have to practice if you want to live in alignment with who you want to become. We grow when we choose to evolve, even when it's uncomfortable. Living in alignment with your values takes awareness and accountability and an openness to change. It requires practice. This week, when you're trying on your values, pay attention to your self-talk and give yourself grace. Remember that you're a beginner and you're still learning. Pay attention to what resonates. Experiment with your values. Next week, you'll learn how to fully integrate your values into your daily life. And if you need any guidance, feel free to reach out. I would love to mentor you. You're not only discovering your values, you're learning how to be led by them. So give yourself gratitude, because this is a huge act of self-love to live in alignment with who you are. I'm excited to see you at the next video. Please share any of your discoveries in the comments below.